What's up, everybody? It's Kellen here from Start Your Systems, and welcome to another MX Simulator official track gameplay. Anaheim 1 is here, ladies and gentlemen, and I know that this video is coming out really close to the actual Anaheim 1, but that's just because everything was kind of pushed back this week in Sims, so the track wasn't actually released until last night, and I still wanted to actually get this video out before the race, so I'm still deciding to actually do it, but obviously it's going to be like pushed right before the race. Like, you guys, if you're watching this when you're, you know, if like right after it comes out, it's probably only a couple hours before the race. So happy Anaheim 1, everybody. It's going to be a good one, and in Sim this race was very interesting, and I'm going to start off by saying that I'm playing this track with a road on, because now in MX Simulator Supercross they are using a road for the series. And so I actually have a road on 20 because they ran the 250 main event on the road 1 setting. So basically when they run a road on 1, it means that every time somebody rides over that particular section of the track, it levels the track down as if just that person rode over the track. Now when I ride, it's as if 20 people ride over the same section of track, but I put it on 20 because I'm kind of trying to like exaggerate it so you guys can see it a little bit more, and then it like multiplies it out a little bit to kind of even out, I think, to what the 250 class saw at least. The 450 class I ran on 1.5, which I thought worked better than running it on 1, but some people didn't agree with that, I guess, so we'll see how that plays out in the future. But at least for right now, running it on 20 so you guys can see what it looks like. And yeah, so that's a road. You'll see the ruts already starting to form. There's this one kind of building up in the berm right here, right before the whoops. The whoops get cupped out when a road is on, so that's kind of interesting. In general, it seemed like it worked really well last night for everybody, so I was kind of stoked on that for a broadcast standpoint. And yeah, so if you're new to these videos, and I'm going to kind of do the same thing I did last year, I'm going to talk about the track for a couple laps like I have been, and then break it down into talking about real life Supercross. I am going to Anaheim 1 tonight, so if you're watching this video right now, hello, I might be at Anaheim already. Yeah, real life Supercross, I'm going to talk about that in just a second, but I still want to talk about this track first just because of all the hard work that was put in by the now EMF track crew, Barrington, Chris, efforts, Race Carlin I think helped out a little bit. They got a couple new guys helping out, so I'm gonna have to learn that whole story. But yeah, just a really good track. It raced well. People seemed to like the scaling and the way everything was built. I thought it was great for broadcasting. It put on a really good show, so fantastic work by those guys. It seems like they got everything built pretty well. In this section right here, everybody was quadding into this corner, and I'm going to try to get that, but you really have to kind of land the finish line jump in the right spot to be able to do it. So let me try to get that in the next couple laps. And then this section, a lot of people were going 3-1. I feel like 2-2 is faster, but obviously some people felt the other way around was a little bit better. OJ the triple there. But you can see the road already starting to dig in. It's very interesting how it worked last night in the main event. But yeah, great track. Good job by these guys to come through and provide some awesome racing for us last night, and then an awesome track for you guys to play this week. So let's talk about real life Supercross, shall we? Anaheim 1, always a lot of build up for this race. Everyone's kind of trying to figure out what exactly is going to happen with Ken Roxon, but also, you know, we still have Muscan and Tomac and Anderson, and probably Webb is going to be better this year, and just so many different guys to kind of focus in on and see what's going to happen with them this year. So I'm kind of excited to see how all these storylines will play out, but obviously Roxon is kind of the biggest storyline. And I don't know how he's going to do. I'm kind of on the, if he even finishes in the top 5, it'll be a win bandwagon. Like, not to say that he can't win, because like if he comes out and wins, I'm not going to say that I'll be extremely shocked, but I will think it'll be like kind of a huge deal. Like, I think the stadium will go nuts. I think fans are going to be kind of blown away by it. But I'm not saying I'll be like necessarily super surprised by it, because I think he still has the speed in him to do it. I just think that it's gonna take him a little bit just to get back into race mode from this injury. So I don't have Roczen as the favorite to win at the opener. I do think it's going to be between Musquin or Tomac, and my real difference separator in that is how are the whoops going to be. I think Musquin's kryptonite this year is going to be whoops week in and week out. Like if the whoops are really big, really deep, don't break down, and he has struggles skimming them, no. If he can't skim them comfortably and they're big and deep, then he's toast. He's not going to be, he probably won't even finish on the podium those weeks. It just seems like it's his real kryptonite. It was last year on tracks like Phoenix, for example, that the whoops were big and long and didn't break down. He got a 9th. Like, he just hasn't been comfortable on these tracks, and so he's going to really struggle in tracks where the whoops don't break down. I think Anaheim whoops will break down, judging by some of the dirt that I've seen that they brought in for the track this year, and just going off of like past history about Anaheim whoops and stuff like that. So in that case, if they do break down the way I think that they could, and the fact that they are kind of a couple sets of short whoops, like they're not terribly long, so he could probably 2-jump them if they break down the right way. I think Musquin can win the opener. I really do. But I think it depends on a couple things. If Tomac starts up front, I think even if Musquin is comfortably jumping the whoops, I still think Tomac will win. But if Tomac gets one of his usual terrible starts, which he happened to get a lot last year, and Musquin starts up front, I don't have any problems with saying that I think Musquin could just easily take off with the win, and nobody would bat an eye at that. I mean, he had a tremendously good offseason. He won every race he entered, including the Monster Cup, all 3 main events. So, like, you can't say that Musquin's not riding on just like a huge high of confidence right now, thinking he's going to be the guy. I mean, he had a great outdoor season. Obviously, he didn't win, but he was up there. He took it to Tomac a lot, and now it's his 3rd year in 450 Supercross, which his 3rd year in 250 Supercross, he pretty much was like the guy, like was going to win the title and everything. So I think that this is his breakout year in 450s. I think him and Tomac are going to be definitely the 2 title contenders, like on paper, coming into this, and it's going to be between those 2. Now, if the whoops are big and challenging, I think even if Tomac gets a bad start, he can still win. But then I think it becomes more of like a Anderson could get in there, and hell, maybe even Roczen, if he gets a good start, could possibly win even if he's not completely comfortable, because, like, I don't know, everybody in the way that they're fired up at Anaheim 1, it makes a bad start by Tomac like exacerbated, like, because everybody's going to be fighting for a position, and they're not just going to be like, oh, Tomac's title contender, let him through. And the track is also easier than every other round during the year. They always make Anaheim 1 kind of an easier track. So you add all that together, and it kind of makes like a lose-lose situation if Tomac gets a bad start, where he's starting behind everybody, he has to work his way through the field, and the track's easier, so there's not a lot of places where he can make oodles of noodles in time. So I think Tomac almost kind of needs to get a good start to necessarily win, but I think if the whoops are gnarly, that Tomac can still win with a bad start. If the whoops are easy, no chance. He gets a bad start, I don't have Tomac win in the main event. Like, the second he comes through the first corner and he's like 12th or worse and the whoops are easy, I'm pretty much thinking somebody else is going to win the main event tonight. But I mean, that's just kind of my logic behind it. Of course, there's a lot of different factors in play. There could be crashes, etc. But just on paper, what I'm looking at right now is that to play out the way I've said it just now, and something different, you know, I think probably will happen than what I'm saying, but I'm just giving my honest opinion, I guess, of what I think's going to happen at the opener. So, with that said, I mean, the 450 class I feel like is pretty straightforward. The 250 class is absolutely ridiculous. There are so many good guys racing the West, and I've seen a lot of people argue about, like, why are they doing that, and it seems to be mostly due to injuries. I would guess that, you know, the reason that PC guys have basically their 2 best riders in AC and Savachi racing West is because, well, Faulkner crashed. I think he broke his wrist pretty severely, and will definitely not be ready until at least East, if even East. But Davalos, I guess, is just not 100% yet either from a crash that he had at the end of Outdoors. So they really just wanted to put their two like healthiest guys on the track, which makes sense. But then they're kind of splitting up. You know, they're putting probably, I would guess, you know, say their two worst guys on the other coast, because Savatgy almost won a championship 2 years in a row, and hell, AC finished, you know, 2 points behind Osborne in the championship last year on the East. So, like, realistically speaking, on paper, those guys are their A and B riders, you know, either way you split it. So it's kind of strange that they're doing that, but I can see why, given their like injury status right now with their other riders. And I think that's kind of the same thing that's happened with a lot of other teams, like Star Racing, for example. AP is going to be on the west. Like Dylan Ferrandis is going east, as is Colt Nichols, because they're hurt. But I think Justin Cooper and Mitchell Oldenburg are both going to be on the west with AP. So I guess that's a little bit more evenly split, but it's still like pretty good riders, and like everybody expects Cooper to be like the breakout guy this year. So I mean, I guess we'll see what happens with that. And then Rockstar Husky has Mitchell Harrison, and I think just him is racing west. I think it's going to be Osborne and Moseman on the east. Could be wrong. Moseman might be racing west. Either way, Harrison on the west out here. I think TLD has McElrath and Amart, which is probably two of their best guys. I know Jordan Smith was really a breakout guy last year, but that's a pretty solid team right there of guys. Let's see, who else? Haven't talked about Suzuki, which is JGR. They're going to have Filthy Philip Nicoletti and Justin Hill out here on the west. So Justin Hill, defending champ. And I really don't know how that's going to go, you know, with the switch to Suzuki. Obviously, he was very comfortable on the PC Cali winning the championship last year, so it seems to me like it was almost the wrong move for him, but it could still work out well, you know, but I feel like the championship would have to be shook up quite a bit for him to win, especially with Savatgy and AC, who in my opinion are just like flat out the two favorites. Geico Honda has Craig and Sexton on the west, so that could prove to be pretty good too. Man, I keep crashing these corners. I need to slow down. But Craig was just really not himself last year, and I still don't feel like he's quite there, like championship speed. Like winning races, sure, I think he can do that, but oh my gosh, these ruts are killing me. But in terms of championship speed, I don't think Craig is going to be able to last the whole season, and clearly he's Geico's best guy between him and Sexton. Now Sexton, I think, is going to have kind of a year where he like gets used to Supercross, really shows people what he's made of, etc., etc. Maybe has a breakout ride or two, gets on the podium, maybe contends for a win once, but generally speaking, I don't think that there's quite the hype around him coming into Supercross as there was for Faulkner last year in Faulkner's like true rookie season. I know Sexton tried to race Supercross before and got hurt, but like this is like I would consider his actual real rookie season in Supercross. So guess we'll see how that goes. Trying to think what other teams I may have missed. I mean, but like just that list alone of people that I've gone through, like that's freaking gnarly. Like there are some good guys mixed in with that group right there, and it really seems like it's kind of just wide open with all those guys. Like no true indication like of who's going to be the favorite. Like East, it's going to be Osborne. And so then, because of that, you could say, all right, well then on the West, it's got to be Hill because he was the champion last year. But again, like the switch to Suzuki and that bike not being like completely up to par on a 250 standpoint, and then the competition seems to be like a little bit more stacked against him this year with like PC throwing their best guys at him, and he didn't have to contend with Craig on a Geico bike last year. I mean, yeah, J-Mart, but J-Mart was just like trash in Supercross last year. So I don't know. I just feel like it's going to be a little bit tougher road for Hill to win the championship. Not that he can't. I just think that I think he's not the favorite, you know. I would definitely put Savatgy or AC above him right now. Now after Anaheim, you know, who knows? Maybe that changes up a little bit. But I think right now I have to go with honestly, if I'm just throwing a favorite out, I think AC is going to be better than Savachi. Like, he just looked better outdoors. He almost won the championship last year. He's going to be coming in off of like kind of a high from that. Like, I think AC is really due for his like kind of breakout season in Supercross where, you know, yeah, sure, his rookie season was fantastic, but I think like he's looking for this year as being like, now he can be a champion. Now he can finally figure out what he wants to do, how he wants to get it done, and he can, you know, step up to the plate and make it happen, or he can just keep being the same AC and struggle halfway through a season or something, you know, I don't know, but it definitely seems like AC is going to have things a little bit more figured out. I think Savachi still needs to kind of find the speed that he had when he was racing Cooper Webb to be the guy again. Because last year, Savachi, like, personally speaking, almost lucked into that championship. Like, he almost won that 250 East championship by only winning one race. Like, he was definitely not going to win Vegas before Osborne took him out. And he was in a position to win the championship by basically finishing 8th in a race where, like, he honestly needed to finish quite a bit better, and probably should have anyway because he started in 2nd. Like, he definitely almost lucked into that championship last year, and he wasn't any better outdoors, I feel like. He just needs to figure out what he was doing right when he was racing Cooper Webb versus what he's doing wrong right now to be up there. But in terms of like who's gonna win tonight, like, I don't know if it's necessarily gonna be AC. Like, you could look at McElrath, who won the opener last year, as being potentially a guy to do it again, come back, repeat. It seems like he was really comfortable at Anaheim last year, so I don't think it's far-fetched to say he could win again this year. But I totally have to like kind of see practice times, watch practice a little bit to even see where these guys are, because if we're going off of what they were last year, then like AC was fantastic at the end of the season. McElrath wasn't. Neither was Savachi. I mean, Hill ended on a high note, but he's switching bikes, so like then AC would seem to be the favorite, but who the heck knows? Like, it could be completely different. Maybe AP comes out and just has the ride of his life and suddenly figures out how to ride really good at an opening round. Like, it's completely up in the air with the 250s. Like, 450s, pretty straightforward. Like, you got to expect Tomac, Musquin, Anderson, and on some level, Roxon are going to be the 4 guys this year. Maybe Webb gets in there, maybe Wilson gets in there, you know. But I think like 250s, it's kind of an open-ended discussion where like there's so many different guys that could be really great this year, and no one's really knows how that's going to work out until we see them all riding on the track together for the first time. But I think in that aspect, it's kind of cool because it really opens up the field for diversity and whatnot. But anyway, Anaheim won. Very excited for it. Very excited for going tonight and being at the races and just seeing how everything breaks down. I'm definitely going to be following a lot of the storylines. If you want to hear my perspective on what's going on, I'll be probably live tweeting most of the time while I'm at the race. So you can follow me on Twitter at Kellen Brower. And yeah, I hope you guys have a good time watching. I hope you have a fantastic beginning of the season. I hope you've had a great New Year's. And yeah, Saturday video on SYS, why not? But another gameplay video here on SYS. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. For Kellen here on Starter Systems. I'll see you guys in the next one. So long for now.